Welcome to the Gerstner Adam Law podcast. My name is Paul Adam.
I'm Colin Gerstner.
I'm a co-owner with Colin, and he's also my co-host for the podcast. So this podcast is going to be about kind of the burning questions that folks in our community have about the law, about hiring an attorney, a lot of the misconceptions. You know, we're going to bust a bunch of the myths about what personal injury attorneys are, what the workers' compensation system is about. But before we get into all those topics, we're going to tell you a little bit about who we are, kind of our backgrounds, what led us to become plaintiffs' attorneys. So, Colin, why don't you start? Just tell us a little bit about, where you started before law school.
Sure. So I grew up here in Billings, graduate of Arrowhead Elementary, Will James Middle School, and a proud West High Bear. Went at Arrowhead where I met you, actually.
Yep, that's
Mr.
right.
Paul Adam. And I think we have a prop. You got something behind you there?
Yeah.
Can you pull it out there and
thanks.
show it? Let's show it to the people at home.
Sure. So this is really the genesis of Gerstner Adam Law. We've got a photo circa 1997 Boulder Arrowhead Majors team. I think we went 7-10 that year. I'll just point us out for everyone that can see here. So Colin, right here, and then I'm up front sitting on the wet asphalt on a rainy day back in 1997.
Correct. I mean, a lot of memories. We got a friend of the firm, Greg Thompson, right there.
Oh, yeah.
His dad was a coach, Rick, and this picture is actually brought to us by Hal Anderson. Found out somehow we had partnered up, pulled this from his
attic
somewhere, framed it, and actually swung it by the firm. That's special. So thank you, Hal, if you're listening.
So deep roots to the Billings community. And yeah, Colin and I took similar paths through our childhood, through law school, and now we're partnered up together. So tell us a little bit, Colin, about kind of your decision to go to law school, and then maybe the first few things after law school, what you did, what you learned from it.
Sure. So I did my undergrad at University of Wyoming down in Laradice. I majored in history for no reason other than I'm a history nerd. I loved studying it, learning about it. I had no idea what I was going to do for a career. And I still remember this moment. I'm in my professor's office, Dr. Bud Moore, and just bouncing stuff off him, career ideas, what the heck am I going to do with this? And he looks at me and goes, you know what, Colin? Lawyers are just frustrated historians. It makes zero sense. I still don't understand what he meant, but it inspired me to go to law school. Reasons still unknown to me. I decided to apply for law schools. And so I took the LSAT, which is the law school entrance exam. Yep. Took a year off after graduating from Wyoming. Applied for various law schools and ended up going to the University of Montana Law School.
Yeah, which is great school. It's also where I went. And so, yeah, that's kind of where Colin and I, met back up after we left Billings after high school. Colin, you were a year ahead of me in law school. But after law school, we kind of took similar paths as well. Colin, you and I we both clerked for local district court judges, which for me, that was a super important experience, really helped kind of shape the attorney that I am, and I know it did the same for you. So tell us, I guess, kind of what you learned from, clerking for Judge Waters.
Sure. Yeah, so I've always been blessed by great mentors, really my entire career. I actually started with a firm I interned in law school in Missoula, then continued with Judge Waters, great mentor. And I was her law clerk in both state and federal courts for 4 years, and that was great. I went to law school, I graduated, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And so as a law clerk, you see lawyers practice in all sorts of areas of law, so family law, criminal law, civil law. And what drew me to the plaintiff's practice is that you're helping people. You're representing somebody who's been hurt, that they're vulnerable, and they just need somebody at their side. And just me and my personality, that's what drew me to the personal injury side of things, especially what we do, which is representing individuals who have been hurt.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I mean, I I took similar paths. My motivations, pretty similar. After I clerked right across the hall from you in state court for Judge Greg Todd. After that, I went to the Yellowstone County Attorney's Office, cut my teeth in what they call the Thunderdome, which is Justice Court. Fantastic time. I tried a bunch of cases, worked my way up. I was trying felony district court cases when I left. Kind of set the background for becoming a trial attorney, though. Having a bunch of trial experience, just being comfortable in the courtroom is a lot of fun. And so to do that on the civil side of things kind of gives me a leg up, because most people don't have that background of criminal prosecution before they become a plaintiff's attorney.
Sure. So right now, you do a lot of workers' comp. You're the work comp guru, as I call you. How'd you end up? Yeah, it doesn't flow. But how'd you end up being the comp guru?
Yeah. So I put in a few years with the county attorney's office. Then I went out. I worked for 2 different firms. First firm I worked for was primarily just a workers' comp firm. That's really all they did. And I worked for a mentor of mine who I had known since I was a child, and still a great friend of mine to this day. He really taught me the ropes on workers' comp, and probably more importantly, just shaped the way that I treat people in the law, and just kind of the important things to focus on. Developed my skills, honed my craft until you and I partnered up in 2020, I believe.
Correct. Believe it or not, it was April 1st, 2020, April Fool's Day.
Yep.
And we officially joined forces.
Yeah. And, it was great. You and I were working on cases together at our, you were on your own at Gerstner Law office. I was at a different firm, and you were working on same client, same set of facts. You were working on the personal injury part of the claim. I was working on the work comp part of the claim. And kind of that led us to thinking, well, shoot, maybe we just do this under one roof.
Yeah, I still remember the case. The client they're still friends, but this person, he was on the job, operating a skid steer, and long story short, his leg, pretty gruesome injury, got pinned by another skid steer, by an employee of a different company, and really mangled his leg badly.
Yep.
And so what he had a work comp claim because he was on the clock. Then he also had, in the parlance of the law, a third-party claim, which would be a negligence claim against the other company.
Right.
And so, he was my client. I knew there's a comp side. I knew I wasn't smart enough to pursue the comp angle. So I called you,
Yep.
and you took that over.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what makes us unique now at Gerstner Adam Law, is that, a lot of our clients have both types of claims with the same set of facts. And now instead of, having to hire 2 different attorneys to represent you, if you run into some of these roadblocks that people often do, we can do that under one roof. That's one of the biggest benefits that we offer, is just one central hub. We can handle lots of different types of cases, but certainly both that personal injury and the workers' comp.
Why did you go to law school? What inspired you?
What inspired me to go to law school?
Yeah.
So I was working as a bartender and a roofer at the time, which was, I'll tell you what, in terms of work schedule, this is tough to beat. And I'm also in Missoula. And so, my roofing schedule starts at about 5 a.m., and then it's about too hot to work by maybe 10. So I can put in a shift, go float the river, maybe take a nap, and be back to the bar by 4 p.m., close by 11 or 12, get up and do it again. That's an optimal shift for a college kid. Realized maybe not a long-term future in that, though. Maybe that's not sustainable. Back to college for my master's in public administration. I got involved with court-appointed special advocates. So I was a CASA volunteer up in Missoula, which that really fueled my interest in the law. And especially after I realized, a CASA volunteer can do a lot, and they're a really important, but at the end of the day, it's the attorney that is going to make the decisions that matter. And so I saw that firsthand on a number of cases. I knew how important it was to have good attorneys making important decisions for, in this case, vulnerable kids. And so my motivation for law school was almost more of a family law driven. That's not what I do now, but that was my first passion. We set up shop together in 2020. I'll tell you, we had pretty humble beginnings.
Yeah, it's funny. We still tell stories about that. So when I first went out, I was completely on my own. And I got, it's basically one big room office on Montana Avenue. And it was great. Really cool spot, just me. And then I hired my first employee, Danielle, who is still a dear friend. And it was kind of awkward to have Danielle in there and me, especially I'm on the phone or whatever. And then we joined up, and it got really, really awkward.
Yeah, then it's 3 phone lines. You're in one corner. I'm at the conference table. Danielle's up front. We outgrew that space pretty quick.
Right.
And, but I will say, you laid the groundwork for the firm that we have today, Colin. I'm indebted to you for that, because you have some great stories that are, most often what holds people back from becoming a plaintiff's attorneys or hanging your own shingle, because you got to start from nothing. And we'll get into some of your stories in later episodes, but just the sheer terror of trying to provide for your family, and you don't know where your next paycheck's coming from.
Oh man, yeah. So I think we'll talk about fees in a later episode, yep. But in a nutshell, personal injury case, we pays on contingency fees, and so I get my fee is earned when or if we resolve it. Sometimes it can be years,
right?
And so you're just hanging on, operating on faith, and there's some nerve-wracking moments there for sure.
Yeah. So we ended up, leaving that spot on Montana and moving to the south side. Now we're at 2828 First Avenue South, which we love it down here. We're in a building that was a former filling station, I believe.
Yes, a gas station, mechanic shop. Not exactly sure.
Yeah, pretty run down, bars on the windows, cinder blocks. I think maybe some homeless people living in here. I'm pretty sure. But boy, our landlords, spruced this place up pretty nice.
Paul's underselling it. So he designed it, I think. This is his brainchild. Paul dropped a lot of his own money on an app.
This is not true. None of this is, continue though, Colin.
Yeah,
go ahead.
So he bought an app, and CAD, is that what it's called?
So I've got some drafting, I took Mr. Gray's drafting class in high school. I know a few things, just enough to be able to buy a $5.99 app, design some interior walls, and the architect, the owners made some slight variations, but now we have what we have today.
Yeah, I love it. It's a very welcoming building. We wanted a place where all sorts of people could feel comfortable. Right. Our clients, they span the whole range of types. So we represent the bluest of the blue collar workers, people who are hurt, on the job, manual labor. And we want them not to feel, uncomfortable walking in some snooty law office, taking an elevator to the 20th floor, something like that.
And I think that's one of the biggest inhibitors of people calling a lawyer or looking for representation is it's intimidating. And you don't want a law office that's stuffy and where you're expecting to have to, dress up, or you're going to meet somebody in a suit. This is a pretty welcoming spot. We're on the south side. We've got a lot of clients that are in the neighborhood, which we love. That's the type of feel that we have here, and we're proud of it, and we're proud that we represent the south side.
We pride ourselves on that. When a client comes in for the first time, they're anxious, right? They don't want to feel stupid. They don't want to be talked down to. And I think we relate well. I feel stupid right now, dressed like this. This is not what I wear on a normal basis. But I thought, the first pod, wanted to impress our
The
audience.
first pod.
And so,
you look nice, Colin.
Thank you.
You look nice. But no, you're right. Usually it's hoodies, ball caps. We're usually showing up in muck boots on snowy days, putting on the slippers as soon as we walk in the door. So no, it's a comfortable spot, but yeah, it's probably not your typical law office in that way.
No, and we pride ourselves on that.
We are, I would say, the minority. When people think of lawyers, most of the time it's lawyers that are billing their time. People are thinking about paying retainers. Like, what's my upfront cost? We are not that type of law office, which I don't think people necessarily know that exists. Like, we don't take your money, and you're never going to get an invoice from us.
Correct. Our personal injury cases, your comp cases, we handle those on what's called a contingency fee. And so our fee comes out of the ultimate recovery when or if we bring it in. It's happened before to us and any other plaintiff's lawyer that, is worth their salt. They'll take things to the mat and sometimes come out with nothing. In that situation, you owe us nothing.
Yeah.
The vast majority of cases we do recover for our clients. But they'll never actually write a check from their own pocket to us.
Yeah. I can confidently say that we are over the hump. I think that allows us to take tough cases. It allows us to spend money on cases, to effectively prosecute them, and we're not worried about covering our costs or earning the fee, and we can just kind of focus on the work. And there's a lot of law offices that can't look at it like that. We're fortunate. We're fortunate that we're at a point where we can take those risks for clients that really need the extra effort on a tough case. Mm-hmm. So, Colin, another topic that we want to cover on this podcast, and I'm going to give you one opportunity at this. It's something you've been talking about for maybe years, if at least a year, if not more than 1 year. This has nothing to do with the law. Frankly, I think it's a half-baked idea that's never going to gain any footing, but it's a burning topic of yours. I'm going to give you the floor. Colin, tell us what's on your mind, however ridiculous it may be.
Thank you. All you viewers and listeners at home, you can tune off now if this might get a little dumb. But I've wanted a platform to share my great idea. And it involves the Ryder Cup, which is a golf tournament, a biannual golf tournament every 2 years between the United States and Europe. The Americans pick their 12 best golfers. The Europeans pick their 12 best, and they compete. And the first 2 days are team-based events, and the last day it's just singles.
And so team-based events here, Colin. I don't, let's get this straight, because golf is an individual sport.
Sure.
And so what are you talking about here?
Yeah. So golf, yes, purely individual. If you look at the PGA Tour, it's just guys, right? There's no teams on the PGA
Right.
Tour, at least, and so it's a different mindset, right? You just focus on yourself, and so I think a lot of Americans are uncomfortable going to a team event. The Europeans, I figured out. The Europeans they kill us in the past 2 or 3 Ryder Cups on team events.
That's true.
And the thing is, so my idea pertains to what we call the captain, really the coach of the team.
Yep.
And I think since time immemorial, I think of all time, is always an older golfer in the twilight of his career who is sometimes still playing, but not otherwise wouldn't make the team.
Right.
And but he's just always done individual stuff. He's maybe since in high school he played a team sport, but definitely not as professional.
So not a team guy.
Not a team guy.
He's just a regular golfer on the PGA Tour.
There's some strategy. There's some dynamics. Yep. You got to manage personalities.
So lay it on us, man. What is it?
The
Tell
best
us.
option for the team captain of the United States would be Nick Saban, legendary college football coach, knows golf, knows the game, great golfer, talks about it all the time, but he understands what it takes to bring a team over the hump.
Yeah.
He would throw himself into the game of golf, into the tactics, and I think it'd be a great hire.
You think that's how we get past Europe?
I think that's how we get past Europe next August 2027.
All right, Nick Saban.
In Ireland.
If you're listening, we got your back. We want you for the next U.S. captain. You heard it here first.
Yep. Credit Gerstner Adam Law.
Credit Gerstner Adam Law. Colin, appreciate your hot take, half-baked idea on Nick Saban as the captain. Thanks, everyone, for listening to the first Gerstner Adam Law podcast. We really enjoyed doing this. We're super excited for the upcoming episodes where we're really going to dive into, all those burning questions that listeners in our community and the state have about the law, some of the most common misconceptions about what the practice of law is and what it is to be represented, and we can't wait to get into it. So I appreciate y'all for listening. Until next time.